Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the McGraw Report. I'm Harry McGraw, your host, and today we have another exciting guest from the Coalition of African American Leaders. We have the Chair of Public Policy here, Mr. Craig Winberly, is our guest on the McGraw Report. He's here to talk about COAL, new organization. Well, maybe not so new,
right,
but an organization that's been around a while doing some wonderful things in the city of Chicago and all around the suburbs for our African American community. We want you to call in and, talk to Craig and find out more about the organization. Give us a call at 312-738-1060 and talk to Craig Winberly. Now, first of all, I want to say thank you so much, Craig, for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for the invitation.
I appreciate you showing up today and doing what you do. COAL has been a wonderful beacon of light in these past few years. It's been really, really tough out here for African Americans in construction and business. And the McGraw Foundation really, really supports what you guys are doing. And we're just happy to have you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about COAL. I know a lot of people out there heard about it, a little rumblings. They see you in the paper sometime. They see you out there on the streets making a little noise. Tell us a little bit about COAL.
All right. Well, COAL stands for the Coalition of African American Leaders. It's an umbrella organization for 13 of Chicago's historic African American men's clubs. The Snakes, the Druids, the Boule, 100 Black Men of Chicago, the Frogs. And a number of years ago, a few individuals got together and felt that black men weren't doing enough. That it's not good enough just to be successful individually, to take care of your family, which is good, have a nice home, which is nice, and your community is hurting. And so we wanted to keep the integrity of each of those clubs, and so we formed COAL. And COAL's purpose is to identify and examine the issues that impact the black community, but to move beyond the dialogue to actually find ways in which we can address those issues. A couple of things I'd like to say is that in Chicago, within our community, we have a lot of leaders, but a lack of collective leadership.
That's true.
All right. Also, that there are a number of individuals and organizations that are doing good work in the community, but they're islands, and we need to be connected to begin to really address those issues that are impacting the community, and that's what COAL is about.
Well, that's wonderful stuff. I know, Craig, you guys have these fantastic meetings monthly, and you do it at a venue where you can have you some breakfast. You can also support a black-owned business, and you can gain some knowledge. You want to tell the viewers a little bit about that?
Yeah, and the key thing here is you have to walk the talk, right? And so when we came up with the idea of having a monthly breakfast, we did want it to be at a black-owned place, which is BJ's Market on 87th and Stony. But the breakfast is part of one of our goals, and that is to educate ourselves and educate the community to have a more informed discussion. So on the first Saturday of every month, we have the breakfast. $6 for the buffet. It's a wonderful buffet.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, but we invite in policymakers, those that execute policy, experts in their field of endeavor, in order to, again, create a more formed discussion around our issues and to work with others to find ways to address it. One of the things that I think is good about COAL is that we recognize that we can't do it on our own and that we need to network with other organizations. And so the breakfast is an opportunity for individuals and other organizations to work with us to provide their perspective on the issues, and then let's work together to move forward.
Craig Winberly is our guest on the McGraw Report. We're talking about the organization COAL. Give them a call, 312-738-1060. We're talking about a new collective that's going on in the city of Chicago where we're gathering African American leaders together and dealing with a lot of those issues that concern our community. Give them a call, 312-738-1060. Now, Craig, when I got to a cold meeting, I was blown away because, you know, my area of expertise is construction for the most part.
Right.
And there was a strict emphasis on getting African Americans on some of these job sites when I went to that meeting.
Right.
And I was very impressed with that. I saw a lot of legislators there.
Yeah.
I also saw contractors come out as well, discussing how they felt about the whole thing. And I was just very impressed. And then Mr. Gardner came. He was involved, and I know he's had a large number of success for many years in his business. And I was just surprised to see him pull back into the game at such a late stage.
You know, I believe we all, across our community, have a sense that we're nowhere near where we need to be. That in a sense, we've taken a few steps backwards. All right. And so what do we do about it? And I think at all levels of the community, we're trying to figure that one out. And let me comment on the term leaders, right? Because we're all leaders. All right. You may run your block club. A single mother runs her family. You know, I'm part of this organization. We're all leaders in one way or another. And that's what the concept is also, about us coming together to figure things out. One of the things that we've recently done, and not recently, but over the past year, was to figure out how do we move beyond the dialogue. And so we formed what I call our committees. So, jobs and economic development, health and wellness, education and training, urban planning and transportation, social community development and social welfare. Just a number of committees where we have people volunteer to work with us, and in each of those committees they do a deeper dive into the issues, again, so that we can come up with ways to begin to address things. So you brought up construction, and at the September breakfast last year, we asked Terry Peterson to join us to talk about the CTA Red Line project.
Now, that's a brand new project. I think they have already started getting people involved in that.
Oh, absolutely. And we wanted to get ahead of the game, and even then it was somewhat late, but we wanted to understand what was the commitment of the CTA to meeting their targets. And then we asked that CTA come back and report on the progress they were making, and that's going to occur next week, April 13th.
So that's coming up this week?
Coming up this week, Quinn Chapel, 2:30 p.m.
All right.
All right, and
what time should the folks show up?
I say start coming in at 2, and we're going to start at 2:30.
All right. Well, I want you guys to call into the McGraw Report. Craig Winberly is our guest from Cole. He's galvanizing our leaders all over the city and state. We've got a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead.
Oh, hi. How are you guys doing?
Hey.
Yeah, I understand that the Cole organization has instituted committees in order to address issues impacting the African American community. If someone is interested, how would one go about becoming active in what Cole is doing?
All right, just a couple of things. I appreciate the question. You can join us at our monthly breakfast as a way of engaging with us. But also, if you go to our website, coalchicago.com, that's COAL Chicago.com, you can join one of our committees. You hit the link, look at what those committees are doing, and sign up, and we would welcome your participation.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, thank you.
And that was coalchicago.com?
coalchicago.com, COAL Chicago.com.
Oh, okay.
I'll be looking forward to hearing from you.
All right. Thank you, caller, so much for putting that out there. And we want all of our listeners to know that this is wide open for anybody to take advantage of. Cole is one of those organizations that's for you. So give them a call, 312-738-1060. Craig Winberly is here. He's the chairman of public policy for Cole, and he wants to open it up to you, the African-American leader that may feel a little left out. You think people don't want to hear what you have to say? That's not true. We have an organization that's specifically designed for you to come in and have your input. Now, you talked a little bit about leadership. Now, I have to say, you know, we've been taking a licking lately. I mean, you got William Beaver's been guilty. Sandy Jackson's been guilty.
Under assault. We're under
Jesse
assault.
Jackson's been guilty. What is happening with the African American leaders that are out front?
Let me respond in this way. part of our strategy has to be the support of our existing politicians, but more importantly, we need to be about identifying that next generation of leaders. And that's part of our goal also. You know, it might be someone's son, someone's daughter, someone coming out of school, but someone that has an interest in public service. But we ourselves, the community, has to begin to identify that next generation of leaders and then figure out where we want to move them.
Yeah, I was really impressed with, you know, the young man, Paul McKinney, who ran for Jesse Jackson's old seat. He lost, but he got a significant amount of the voting bloc to come out. And as a black man and as a Republican and as a virtual unknown, that has to say a lot about what's going on in that district.
Well, it also says that folk are looking for change. But I tell you what he did. One, I congratulate Paul on getting 20%. But just as importantly, he will keep Robin Kelly honest. She now knows that she really has to focus on delivering for that district, and so that the next election, you know, she can get back in. But I like what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And also it demonstrates that we have to work both within the system and outside of the system to make change happen, and we can do it. Mm-hmm. Can I touch a bit more on what we're doing in the area of construction? Because I think in our community we have to work at really 3 levels: operationally, tactically, and strategically. And so one of the things that Cole has been doing is looking at all of the processes that govern employment on construction projects, but as well as more business for our black contractors. So the thing is, what needs to change in order to systemically improve the system? All right, so there's things that the city, state, and county needs to do as it relates to policy and practice. There's things that we need to do as far as improving the pre-apprenticeship programs and interest into the union. There's union practices that have to change. And then we ourselves have to ensure that our individuals and our businesses are prepared to take advantage of opportunities. What Cole likes to say is that we're about improving the quality of opportunity, the quality of preparedness, and then the quality of results, the quality of life of the community. But you got to do it by working at all levels. And so if we can hook an individual up to a job today, that's great. But also we have to work on changing those systems to make it easier for entry into the workforce for our folk. So there's a lot that we can do. But I am extremely confident in black folk working together to make it happen.
Craig Winberly is our guest on the McGraw Report. He's the chair of public policy for Cole. Why don't you give him a call, 312-738-1060. We're talking about economic empowerment in 2013 for the black community. We're talking about leadership and some of the problems that we have, as well as some of the things we can do to solve the problems. Now, I know you guys are watching this program. Don't be intimidated. Cole is one of those organizations that you need to be a part of. It's really very broad-based, and it has the support of people that you know, people right in the community. Give them a call, 312-738-1060. Now, I want to go back to that piece you talked about with CTA, because you know, you got a fight on your hands with those unions, man. Those unions are pretty tough in trying to change the way they do business. And so if you're talking about getting people in on a project as big as the CTA Red Line, you can't do it without playing ball with those unions. I mean, there's no way.
Well, that's true, but you have to push in various ways, right? And so we've met with a number of stakeholders, including the unions. We talked to business representatives. We had a meeting with Villanova a couple of weeks ago, talking about the rules and regs that govern the various locals and how we might change that. What you have to do is, one, ensure that individuals know that you are serious about change happening and in it for the long haul, which we are. Also, find ways where it's a win-win. All right, so that they see that it's in their interest, all right, to do something that we need done. If we can work collectively, I think we can make that happen.
Well, it's going to definitely take a whole lot of effort on your part. definitely going to take a lot of effort on the part of the leadership at the Chicago Transit Authority. And I also see that there are some community components. The Chicago Urban League is taking an active role in trying to administer some of the application processes and things like that. But why is it a one-stop shop at this point? Why isn't it more broad-based to some of the other organizations? And why isn't it more inclusive to individuals that live along the footprint of the project itself?
Well, with that, then that's what we're about, right? Is trying to ensure that we have fair representation. But I would tell you, this to make change happen, particularly in the area of employment and business for our contractors, will take a while. All right, so we'll see some results with the CTA Red Line project. But as we indicated to the CTA, to both Claypool, who's the president, and Terry Peterson, who chairs the board, no matter how well the CTA Red Line project turns out, it's still a one-off unless we change the systems that that lead to us having to have such a big focus on getting our folk in. But also, we've got to step up and do our part, right? We've got to figure out how better to assist our black contractors, right? Quite often they start off because they have an excellent technical skill. But how do we help them with back office, right? How do we help them in the area of strategic planning? How do we help them strategically build up their bonding capacity? What creative ways can we find to bring capital to bear with them? How can we help these businesses joint venture to increase capacity? Because one of the things I've pushed always is that we will feel good about meeting CTA's targets, but longer term, we want to prime.
Well, they have some really lofty goals, Craig, and I think they're gonna meet those goals one way or the other.
Right.
But what is this angle that they're using with qualifying people for WIA? I mean, what is that part where they have people that are low income, underemployed people trying to get a job in a high-paying, high-wage field like construction? How does that even mix? I mean, if you're on unemployment and you go to work for a couple of days as a tradesman, you can't get unemployment. You make too much money in that pay cycle. So how do they work that out?
Well, you're touching on all of the issues that make this whole thing so complex, right? If you talk to some of the organizations, maybe like CBTU, their focus is, hey, we have a number of journeymen out here. We need focus on our journeymen to ensure that they're getting sufficient work so that they will build up pensions, so on and so forth. At the same time, we've got our unemployed that need to move into the industry, right? And so you just got to deal with all of that. The WIA program I see as it appears to be something positive, where you take folk who have long-term unemployment challenges and provide them an opportunity to get trained to get into the union. So as an example, we spoke with GW Peoples today, which is one of the black firms that's going to handle track work, laying down track. And they will take some of the WIA folk and actually train them. And if you think about it, over time, they're building up a black workforce so that our numbers can increase. The other thing that's interesting is after the CTA Red Line project, there are additional projects coming down the pike. I mean, there may be $1 billion+ that are coming down the pike in CTA related projects. What we have to do is prepare for those. Both our individuals to get trained, deal with the challenges of getting them into the union, but also making sure that our businesses are prepared to take advantage of those opportunities. The more you get prepared in advance, the less likely they can push back on providing us that opportunity.
Well, before I let you get off the show, I want to hit you with one more thing, because you're such a wealth of information. I'm going to have you back. A half hour is just not enough time to cover all the things that Cole is doing.
Right.
But I did want to get your perspective on the shift that's going on with the kids in the Chicago public school system. I know that a lot of our communities have been ransacked with foreclosures. I mean, we are facing some 75-80% foreclosure rates in some communities.
Right.
And now this other tsunami is hitting where they're shifting the schools and taking kids out of schools and putting them in different neighborhoods.
Right.
As an individual concerned about our kids today, what can you say that will give us a little bit of light as to how we can work through this particular shift?
You know, I'm going to say a couple of things, right? One, that we do have an education and training committee co-chaired by James Patrick and Eddie Bassetti, and they're grappling with that now, right? What's our position on school closings? But if you take a step back, all of this is connected, right? Public housing came down several years ago. There was commitment to sort of scattered site housing that hasn't panned out at the pace it needs to. Ergo, people move. Well, people move, kids come out of the schools. Kids come out of the schools, they say, hey, they need to be closed. But at the same time, they're building schools. And so I think what we have to do is just take ownership of what happens to the community and stay on top of figuring out what's best for us, regardless of whether you're pro-public schools, pro-charter schools, or whatever. The bottom line is, how can we work together to ensure that our kids are getting trained, and we got to get involved. However you get involved, right? Because I can't tell you how to do that. But at whatever level, we've got to get engaged. We own what happens to our community.
Yeah, and the large majority of the kids that are affected are African American children. And so I think whereas we are talking more about the economic impact on the adult side, we cannot forget about the kids, because that's where our future lies.
That's where our future lies.
And we have to stay proactive and focused on what's going on with them as well.
Right. You know, I think a key is building sustainable wealth in our community. When you build and retain your wealth, you have a heck of a lot more control over what happens to you.
So it goes back again to the businesses.
Goes back to the businesses and jobs. All right, and we have to be about that.
And we keep folks working. They can keep their homes. They can raise their kids.
Right.
And they can bring them up to be viable citizens. And of course, we make our communities better. And that also affects the crime rate.
Absolutely.
Because I know we've had a rash of violence. It's gone down a little bit, but we're doing a little bit better. And I think we have to really brace ourselves for the summer. So we're going to have some programs going on this summer to help the youth stay off the streets and out of trouble. Craig, I just want to thank you, man. I just don't have enough time today to talk to you about all these things, but I'm going to hold you to coming back, okay?
I'll come back, and I appreciate what you're doing.
All right. This is Craig Winberly from Coalition of African American Leaders, and we're so glad to have him on the McGraw Report. We want you guys to tune in next week. We're going to have another exciting guest. If you want to come to the Saturday breakfast, it's going to be this Saturday at BJ's Market. Where is that again? Well,
the next Saturday breakfast is May 4th at BJ's, 8734 South Stony. But next Saturday is the CTA reporting back to the community on how well they're doing and hiring our folk, Quinn Chapel.
Quinn Chapel, that's on the west side.
No, it's 24th and Wabash.
24th and Wabash, all right. We want to see you out there at Quinn Chapel. This is Harry McGraw, that's Craig Winberly, and we'll see you again next time on the McGraw Report. You have a wonderful day.